My name is Vineet Malhotra, and we've been talking about Atmanirbharta, how to get the demand back, and how to, in fact, infuse more positivity into the Indian economy. And we've been doing that by speaking to a number of brilliant minds on this particular platform between these particular hours, which is 6 to 7, in association with Business World. And we are going to do exactly that today. And it's a very exciting atmosphere because every time you get to hear ideas which are perhaps novel and which will perhaps also define what tomorrow is going to look like. So, without any further delay, let me introduce our panelists for today. Mr. Kawaljeet Singh, co founder and joint MD of NetAmbit, joins us on the program. Ashwini Singla, founding managing partner of Astrum, the Reputation Advisory, is also with us. Ayush Jaiswal, co founder and CEO of Pesto Tech, is also here. Snehal Choksi, director of Shobha Srinagar Jewelers, also joins us. Ekta Ahuja Singh, creative head and co-founder of JS Solitaire, is also a part of the platform. And Sukriti Gupta, co-founder, Sipping Thoughts, also joins us on this special show. And last but not the least, Dr. Anurag Batra, editor-in-chief, Business World, also joins us on the program. He's my co-host for the program as well. Kawaljeet Singh, let me come to you first. I hope you can hear me. We've been talking about, especially Anurag has been very keen on figuring out and getting people to talk about how to get the demand back. But at the same time, getting the demand back and having the agenda of Atmanirbharta, do you think that's a double-edged sword that the government or the economy should not be, playing with at this point in time? Because, everything is slow.
So, yeah, true. I mean, unless and until we find some medical solution to the problem, I think I don't see that demand will come back. You need to infuse confidence into consumers for them to come out and really have that confidence that the uncertainty is gone. Having said that, I think the entire program of Atmanirbharta, I think it's the opportune time because, you need to also look at the medium to long-term opportunity. Currently, if you see, there is a huge amount of liquidity globally. World is, full of right now stashed with actually cash. Interest rates are near zero or negative in certain countries. So I think it's a great time to actually attract capital into India. And we are a capital-starved economy. We need investments into various aspects. I think digital economy, you talk about infrastructure. So I think it's a great opportunity to go out, bring in capital and invest into India. So I think demand, yes, it will take some time, but a platform like Atmanirbhar, it's very important for a country like India, and it's a absolutely opportune time to launch it. And these things take time; they don't happen overnight anyway.
Okay, that's an optimistic opening.
I want to ask you one thing. For the first time, entrepreneurs are looking at this equation where costs are lesser than revenues. They're trying to bring that equation in. Pre this, revenues were decent, funding was available. Today, in a lot of sectors, revenues are softened and funding is not coming through. So what is the mind shift that the entrepreneurs have seen? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, today, we work with almost all the large digital companies in this country. And what we are seeing is that, pre-COVID, it was all about expansion. It was all about, there is a market and we need to take market share. And it was all about velocity. But what has happened during this last 3-4 months is that the companies have really looked at their cost structures very minutely and are looking at, I would say, not unit economics, because most of, I think that is largely there in most of the companies, but they are looking at now things like EBITDA and net profit more seriously. As you are rightly said, the visibility on funding is a little blurred than maybe 4 months back. So people have become far more cost conscious. People are looking at every aspect of the cost more minutely. And I would say that from a medium to long term is very positive for the industry. Last 4 months, I think pre-COVID, digital economy was a good to have kind of a feature. But I think 4 months have proven that this is a very essential part of our economy. And all the large players have come to the forefront and actually been a saver for a lot of, Indian population. So clearly, as they look deeper into their cost structures, become more viable, it's very good for the overall digital economy in the medium to long term. But yes, to answer your question, yes, people have become far more, visible on the cost. Yeah.
Actually, you work with large businesses, very big promoters, and you give them strategic advice on various matters. What is the sentiment you get from promoters of large Indian companies?
Thank you, Anurag, for first and for having me on the panel today. As you know, we are a research-based consulting company, and we research public opinion very often, especially with the C-suite and the captains of the Indian industry. The sentiment, look, I think everybody recognizes the fact that the challenge is real. But what I have got from people is that they are down, but they're not out. That's the most important part. I think, as my colleague just rightly said, the impetus to reinvent yourself or pivot yourself, given this circumstantial challenge, is real. And these are active conversations and discussions that are happening in the C-suite, and some may have already started working on the plans or well in their way in executing some of those plans. I think the general sentiment remains cautiously optimistic, because a lot depends on the timelines of the external environment. These are threats that they cannot be predicted in terms of timeline. So I think they're cautiously optimistic, and they remain committed to the fact that they need to pivot the business and not just give up. So I would say that.
Okay, Ashwini. And when do you think they are expecting the demand to be back in certain key sectors? Of course, all contact sectors like
anything between
are impacted, but beyond that, when do you think the demand will be back?
Our last survey, which we had almost 70 to 80 CXOs participate, saw something between 9 to about 15 months, depending on the curve of some of the discoveries that may be there. I think HCQ or MS-Disvar or all of these kinds of medicines that are there, they sort of will moderate some kind of timeline. But I think broadly Q3, Q1, 2021, 2020 Q3 or 2021 Q1, towards the end of that is what people see some level of upward sort of movement of the growth curve. As I said, they remain cautiously optimistic. That's the hope. And I think everybody's sort of working towards that.
Okay. Sukriti, when you talk to entrepreneurs, when you talk to women entrepreneurs, women leaders, what is the sentiment you're getting from them? Have some of your friends, colleagues, partners been able to receive the economic stimulus? Has the economic stimulus made an impact?
So I think most of the people that I'm talking to, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, are in the digital economy. And I think women and players that are in the digital economy are more optimistic. So if I look at our space, which is in the digital media space, we are just seeing growth. But of course, we are not seeing the revenues come in because a lot of the ad spend has slowed down. So one of the big things for us is just figuring out survival. But I see a lot of optimism in the digital media space. A lot of people are pivoting. People are looking at this as an opportunity. I see a lot of women entrepreneurs, even small entrepreneurs, reformulating, re-looking at their products, and especially when they're in the e-commerce space, they're finding that product line is really, really taking off. I was just on a call yesterday. I was doing a webinar with a lady that was on a skincare brand, and she said that her sales have never been better. So this is what we are hearing from a lot of the players. They might be small to medium size, but very, very positive attitudes.
So you're saying,
Sukriti, but there are also people in the system, who have folded up. There are also people in the system who have not been able to survive this pandemic. And that's a majority.
Absolutely. And I'm speaking specifically about the digital media space. I'm speaking about the digital media players. e-commerce players, people that have been able to pivot. Even when I look at a lot of the groups that I am part of and a lot of the players that I'm talking to, even a lot of small businesses, I see these women that used to do teaching classes have come on to Zoom and they're teaching on Zoom. A lot of people that were making different types of products. I'm actually impressed by the innovation that I am seeing. So yes, I think the initial shock, even I went through that initial shock in the digital media space when this all happened. Like, what should we do? Should we be kind of tightening up or should we be expanding? And I think we took the call that this is a big opportunity. We know that revenues are delayed. We need to figure out survival. We need to figure out how we're going to cross this boundary. But this is probably one of the best times for it.
But like Anurag said, do you know of anyone who's benefited from the stimulus package?
The stimulus package as such, no. But I think overall, in the sense that, of course, the liquidity is there. So because of that, people are still figuring out how to take advantage of the stimulus package.
Okay, let's get a reaction from Ekta. Ekta, what do you make of the situation we find ourselves in? And basically, it's a challenge, but at the same time, it's an opportunity as well. 59 Chinese apps were banned. More are on their way. Indian enterprises will definitely try and take advantage of that. But where should the focus be? On helping the ones that have an opportunity, or looking at those which have no chance at all of coming back ever?
So firstly, thank you for having me a part of this, as part of this panel. So I belong to the jewelry industry. We are basically diamantaires, and which has traditionally been brick and mortar, sort of businesses. So as far as, of course, this is an opportunity. It's a great opportunity, especially for businesses like ours and an industry like ours, which has traditionally not been technologically driven, and we are forced to come out of sort of our offices and come, into the digital space. It is a huge opportunity. We as Indians are very resilient. That's the difference from most places in the world. And, what I find is that people are using this time to, of course, like Sukriti rightly said, initially, of course, it was a big shock. But now people are using this time to sort of like, re-engineer and refocus and reflect on how to go about newer strategies. But having said that, in a space like ours, we cannot do without a traditional office, and we have rentals, we have salaries, we have, so all that goes on as usual. So there are a lot of people currently, it is more optimistic because the moratoriums are on, and, in the longer run, there is going to, I do foresee a lot of chaos because, like you said correctly, Vineet, there are going to be businesses packing up. And I think as far as that, there is a lot of opportunity
I know of a few friends who have folded up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is not an easy time. And, it is, I think it's been simpler for knowledge-based and more digital-prone industries. But as far as industries like us, and, having said that, jewelry contributes about 7% of our GDP. And we haven't received any particular economic stimuluses that we were looking at. So as an industry, even at a macro level, if I talk, traditional brick and mortar systems are definitely going to have a lot of bankruptcies and a lot of people finding new innovative technologies. But yes, it's not as, as glorious, as optimistic and resilient as we are. I'm sure we will bounce back, but yes, there are going to be their share of hiccups.
Ayush, you heard your fellow panelists. What is your view on the economic stimulus? And where do you see the economy headed?
I think there's, I was just listening to everybody, and I feel that there are, of course, like unprecedented times, and a lot of people are facing a lot of challenges, especially whenever it comes to something which is, related to physical presence. But I think I'm actually coming from a world, and I would love to share that view. I think in last 1 century, we haven't seen a better timing to launch a company than this, right? The world is changing at a pace which is faster than ever, and the world will still move, right? The river is still moving, only the direction has changed. So if we change ourselves, then I feel that there are lots of opportunities there. Now, I'll specifically talk about Indian economy, the opportunity it has, which is pretty massive, right? Now, we know that how India has led the world when it comes to services, right? Now, in the pre-COVID world, there was deficit of 1 million jobs when it comes to software developers in US alone, right? Now, in the post-COVID world, our dependency on softwares has only increased. Now, everything is happening online. and there is just a different way of living. And if we do this for 6 more months, I'm sure that it will be very hard to go to the previous way of living, right? And I believe that because the
So it is debatable what is the good part and what is the bad part, what is a complete behavior change for the long haul.
The old normal is better or the new normal is better?
Or the new abnormal. We'll have to figure that out in a while. But go on.
That's right. I think I'll be specific to tech because I think there are a lot of people who are going through a lot of pain which I don't have context about. When it comes to tech, I think the new world is phenomenal. I feel when we have so much dependency on software, the number of jobs in computing is going to increase massively over the next couple of years. And India has led the world when it comes to services. I feel the nature of those jobs are also changing. We estimate that the rise in temp staffing is going to be pretty massive. The whole way of employment is going to change because it's just more efficient to employ people on a temporary basis or on contracts. And we've seen a pattern by seeing that in US already 50% of people are contractors, right? And not full-time employees. So I think that pattern is going to grow. And most importantly, people are going to open up those opportunities to the world. I always say that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And this is the time when those opportunities in many parts of the world will be visible to different talent. And one quick context is that we run a small program in which we train developers and help them get jobs, right? We've got so many people who are working from Coimbatore, Jaipur, Rajasthan, so on and so forth, in companies in SF, in Europe, in Australia, etc., right? I feel as this behavior changes, India truly has a massive advantage because we host 24% of world's developers, and our culture is so nice that we adopt others.
You speak of a technological wave,
yes,
which India is going to in fact benefit from. You apply the same thought. Can you apply it on rural India as well? How are they going to benefit from it?
Absolutely. I think when it comes to rural India, especially with respect to tech, those opportunities became accessible to them, right? Now we actually have people from the villages of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and different places, right, who are actually going back to their villages and they are forming their own ecosystem. So they are actually working at companies which are based in different parts of India or the world, right? And because they are there in Varanasi, in Kanpur, etc., they are creating their own small ecosystem. And this talent was not on the map before, right? So I see these guys. I have a lot of people who are post graduates who are starting their own companies.
Snehal Choksi, we haven't been able to get an opening remark from you. Would you categorize the phase that we find ourselves in as an archetypical battle between life and livelihood, where livelihood also involves the economy?
Hi, Vinny. Hi, Anurag. Thanks for having me. Well, let's not forget that our economy inherently is a savings economy. We in India have inherently, over the years, have had a lot of savings, maybe in form of gold, bullion, or what have you. So this kind of a parallel economy has always been of a lot of help whenever we are in crisis. And we are seeing this today, at least here, the ground reality is what I'm talking. I don't have statistical numbers or surveys and stuff like that.
Right.
When we talk of business on ground reality, I see people out with a lot of stashed savings that they've had over the years. And what we saw in April, May, June, I think July, we are seeing a lot of walk-ins into the store, a lot of business happening, obviously not compared to what it would be in normal scenario. But yeah, things are moving back to normal, though slowly. But I'm very optimistic about this. And what is actually supporting us is this parallel economy, which over the years the Indian public has stashed with them. And what I feel is even the stimulus that is given, which is almost 10% of GDP, is quite a good package in terms of ease of doing business or reforms and a lot of things that one would have expected otherwise, which came in because of this pandemic. So I, for one, feel that with this crisis, we found a lot of opportunities. And as what you were saying, Vineet, that a lot of businesses have unfolded and shut shop, which is even we are hearing at our level. But if your business model is correct, if you are not over leveraged, if you have your overheads in control, I think this 3-4 month period should be sustainable. If you have your model in the right, the equation is right, and you're not having a lot of overheads and you're not leveraged. So I think this is a time where you'll see men separating from boys. Yes, I'm very certain about that.
It sounds like a tagline for a gangster movie, but it's nice.
You can frame it the way you want, but time will tell you that those with fly-by-night vision and ideas will all drain out, and those who have a strong-rooted formula and business model are here going to sustain and do very well. In say starting end of the year, I see a V-shaped recovery in the Indian economy. With all this noise universally happening about opposing China, Chinese product, I think India is the one who's going to benefit the most. So I think we should take advantage of the situation, which we are, I think, at the government level, at the industry level, at the at every level. I think we've understood the situation with the SOPs that the government has given. I feel we are on our way to have a very good economy 2021.
Anurag?
No, I would like to ask all the panelists only 2 questions. One, what are they doing in each of their own businesses so to take advantage of the environment? All of you have said, what are the positives in the environment? Second, when do you see the demand coming back? These are the only 2 things I want to know from the entrepreneurs and professionals represented on this panel. Let me start with Ashwini. Ashwini, yours is a derived business. If there are mergers, acquisitions, if there is exuberance in the environment, you tend to get used more. I mean, you tend to get used in crisis also. But so tell us what have you done to kind of remodel your business, pivot your business to be able to deal with the shrinking of the economy?
Yeah, Anurag, I'm probably skewing the age group of the panel in this group. So I can say this is not my first rodeo. And we've seen some of these challenges before, maybe not to the extent possible, but if you've gone through 92, 98, 2003, 2008, I think the fundamental issue that everybody in the panel seems to be saying is if you're running a good business, where you're conscious of costs, you're moderating your conservative and moderating your costs, and you're aggressive in seeking markets and customers, you're going to be okay, right? I think the difference that happens is if you try to do this every time you have a crisis, then you're obviously going to be what I call trying to dig the well when the fire's raging. And that's always not going to be the best thing to do because you're going to lose a lot of time. But if you're smart and you're progressive in your thinking, then you've got to keep yourself ready for just in case, right? And that's really how I look at my business. I very proudly have said to people right from 98, 99, since I've known you, that I could run my organization from my phone. I mean, that's the level of investment that you have to make in technology to make sure people are able to work anytime, anywhere, are able to respond to clients and to each other, collaborate with each other. Those technologies have existed for a long time. They've just become better and they've become more sophisticated and maybe less expensive. But if you've made the right investments and not cut corners, and you've invested in the right talent, built the right capabilities, then I don't think business is going to be that much of a challenge. And that's what we've done that right from the inception. Be smart about it, keep the costs in control, make sure we are aggressive about the way we serve our customers, value them, value their business, and respect them to work long term. So I think that's the fundamental. So if you think about good fundamentals, you remember the dot-com bust. We've gone through the whole 9 yards. So this is, again, and what did I say? Look, you can't sell a business just because somebody's looking at your window. You're not going to make value. Just because people come and look at your window and go away, you're not going to make money. People have to come into your store, buy your product for you to be able to run a successful business. So, I mean, you're going back to the life comes to a full circle, right? You're sort of saying this in 2010 when we said this in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I think stick to the basics, stick to the fundamentals. That's what we are doing, and that's what we continue to do. And that's what's seeing us through at this point of time. Our clients are responsible.
And when do you see the demand coming?
As I said in my earlier response, I see Q3 to Q1 next year, somewhere where we will see some level of moderation. Right now, the demand is really soft. And if the demand is there, I think you're going to have pricing pressures, which means you'll have corresponding cost pressures to maintain profitability. So soft demand over the next few quarters with some level of recovery coming in from Q1 and onwards is really my best estimation at this point of time. But then I'm not Nostradamus. I can only hope that this comes true.
Nostradamus could have predicted
Nostradamus did not predict COVID.
Yes.
Well, look.
He predicted 9/11, but not COVID.
Vineet, look, we've gone through SARS, we've gone through MERS, and other countries have gone through these pandemics. We haven't learned from the history. I mean, we talk about the Spanish flu and the bubonic plague and all of those things. But look, what has history taught us? And if we don't learn the lessons from history, we're going to be poorer in our present and in the future. I think this is a great reminder for people that there is a time to also pivot your lifestyles, not just businesses, but you got to also pivot your lifestyles to be able to understand how you're going to be able to live and thrive in the new environment. And I can understand from medical experts that more than threats of war, more than threats of earthquakes or fires, pandemics are going to become a more significant threat as we start to create a more borderless society where travel becomes aggressive.
So the masks are not coming off.
Yeah. So I think these are good wake-up calls to go back to your roots, question your fundamentals, both about lives as well as livelihoods. If you do the smart thing, I think you're going to be all right.
Okay, let's take the same question to Kawaljeet now. Kawaljeet?
Yeah, see, fundamentally, we are in an outsourcing business. So we have just changed our tagline. I think before COVID, we used to tell digital companies that we can help you scale, we can provide velocity. Today, we are telling our clients we can help you save costs. And I think that's a big attraction for most of our clients. So internally, if you ask me, I think there are three sets of things which we are doing. We are focusing more on technology to make ourselves efficient. We are strengthening our customer cohorts. What we were doing, for example, before COVID with our clients, now we have increased the number of assignments or transactions or areas where we are, we can add value to our clients. So we are strengthening our customer cohorts. And at the same time, we see opportunity because we thankfully happen to be largely in the digital space. And that, as I said earlier also, that space is seeing traction and we are seeing, good demand there coming back for at least services like ours. So, yeah, I mean, it's time to just tighten your strings, work more efficiently and, continue to add value to your clients.
Okay, so Kirti?
So I think also we are in the digital media space. We're seeing huge growth in subscribers. Yes, revenue is an issue. It has been pushed off. We were looking at a lot of events and physical events this year actually to build. And that has been the most challenging part for us. So shifting everything, we've been able to do it online. But yes, the revenue is not following. The type of monies that you could get in a physical event versus something that's online, even the advertisers still are very, very cautious. So right now, in the next 3 to 6 months, is just being cautiously optimistic, building and hoping that when the 6 months actually passes, that we will be fairly established to take advantage of the opportunity. And when you ask the question, 6 months is when we are seeing.
6 months. Mr. Choksi, the physical retail in your sector has been kind of inactive, let me put it this way. Now, digital cannot give you the feel and experience, though there is AR, VR, and yesterday we had a startup that helps jewelry to be tried out using AR, VR, and you get the same experience. But tell me, what are you doing to pivot? What are you doing to use the digital tools to be able to make up for some of the lost business?
Yeah, so to come to your first point, where AR and VR, it's just a knee-jerk reaction after all this lull that we had. People are trying to get their jewelry digital and virtual, but I don't think it's going to work, at least for the jewelry where pieces are above a value more than 3-4 lakh of rupees. They would like to feel it, they would like to see it, they would like to try it themselves. So this is just a knee-jerk reaction. It will die down. But yes, at the same time, we have taken an e-commerce route for products which are below 2 lakh of rupees. So this is a huge opportunity. Maybe it's the future also, which we would have never thought of otherwise. But this pandemic, as we say that every crisis has an opportunity, I think there are a couple of things that we are doing. One is e-commerce that we are going to start very soon. And we are doing a house-to-house shopping where we provide jewelry to the doorstep as and when and what is required by our clients. So a lot of new innovative ideas have taken shape in a traditionally orthodox kind of a business where it's a place where you have to be and see and feel and buy. So it's a huge opportunity.
And when do you think, in terms of jewelry sales, November 14th is Diwali. Do you think in October, November we'll make up for whatever we've lost in the last 6 months?
I would not say make up entirely, but yeah, we'll see a huge recovery post Navratri, I may say, not even Diwali, because all the pending weddings which didn't take place in July, June, and May are all being planned for December, Jan, Feb. So I, for one, feel that there's going to be a huge demand all of a sudden, where the good houses may not have enough stock. This is my...
Ekta, do you share Mr. Choksi's view?
Yes, absolutely. I am extremely optimistic about the demand in the jewelry industry. See, we are essentially driven by emotional buying. We are a traditional based, there's a lot of traditional based buying. Of course, we missed out on Festival Akshaya Tritiya, which is very auspicious for buying.
Which was in April.
Which was in April.
Which was a washout.
Which was a washout, yes. But, it's very nice. It's very heartening to know that the clients have already started coming in. Jewelry is something that I think you cannot take away from an Indian. I think so. That is something that I'm very optimistic about. The women have already started coming. Of course, the way that we are doing business has changed. Of course, staying digital, going digital is our new mantra. And when I say going digital, I just don't mean supplying jewelry at the doorstep. And I do agree with Snail somewhere that, this whole AR, it's just a knee-jerk reaction right now. I mean, for something, especially high-value jewelry, you don't expect the client to sort of buy online. The lower budget items, less than 2 lakhs, we're also, going online with e-shop, online deals, social media marketing, something which we are really doing. But apart from that, I think what the customers are really relating to is, an online presence is what makes them feel that we are there for them. And because, you have to understand that jewelry is a very emotional sector. So just sort of helping them navigate through this time, through this upheaval of emotions and, helping them select, there have been weddings canceled, postponed events. So all that is, it's taken a toll on them. So just by sort of navigating them through this, I think we're seeing a huge change. And the second area we as a business are focusing on going by the Atmanirbhar India is, as you know, Anuragji, we are doing a vocal for local campaign. So we are really focusing on indigenous productions. See, we as an industry support 4.64 of the informal karigars, informal task force, which is huge. And these are people who really need that, who really have that skill. Yeah. And these are the people who really need that.
Just to build on what everyone said, Ekta said, I want to ask you a provocative question. Do you think in every business, we can say that at some stage, all the businesses will exist on a cloud? You don't need a physical space. You don't need a physical retail. Do you think 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the line, or maybe earlier, all the businesses will be on a cloud?
Employees are not going to be happy about that, Anurag.
I wouldn't agree.
Ayush, my question is to Ayush.
I think it probably won't be one way or highway. I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think people are going to become a lot more open to cloud for sure. People are going to be like, who knew that we could run a news channel remote, right? Now just imagine the number of people who would be thinking about reducing their costs without having studio and so on and so forth. And if you could run a news channel like this, it's phenomenal, right? And if we can do that with one industry, then how many more industries we can do that? So I think the comfort with change is something which has definitely come in, right? And specifically to our businesses, I think I agree with most of the points which Ashwin sir said. I think Ashwini sir said, sorry. I think I wasn't born when he was fighting depressions. So
economic depression, the .com boost that he
.com boost, etc. Right. So I think focusing on fundamentals, making sure that we meet our operating costs, etc., and being opportunistic in nature because there's a massive tailwind which is coming in education and remote workspace. I think just being opportunistic and looking at those tailwinds is something which is interesting. And specific to the jobs market, we see a heavy tailwind in the global software jobs industry in the first couple of quarters next year.
Okay. And Ayush, I also want to ask this notion of singularity. As of now, the researchers in the US say that we will be singular in 2034. For our viewers, singularity is the notion when machines can think and act as like human beings in every aspect. Do you think singularity will happen sooner than later? Possibly in 2030, maybe in 2025?
Yes, 100%. I think reaching singularity might take slightly later than 2025, but I absolutely believe machines assisting us in a way more significant way. And I've got friends who work at OpenAI, which is sort of leading the initiative, and I've seen what GPT-3 has done. Right now, just to give a quick example, right now you can feed all your Twitter history in GPT-3, and it will predict new tweets on your behalf, which would be similar to what you would think, right? And I think solving complex.
There are some people in the world that don't think before they tweet. I would leave the imagination.
I think it all comes down to predicting randomness, right? Now I'll leave you with one.
I like the word.
We just have 2 minutes left
of a leader of the country. I don't know whichever country you want to think, but
just a couple of minutes left on the show, guys. So we'll
just complete, and then we'll do the last.
I'll just complete this thought because I think that this really blows my mind sometimes. So we often hear that, sometimes we see things and we always speculate that the phone is listening because you get ads similar to that, right? Something which is totally random, like talking about a chessboard and you suddenly got an ad. Now, just leaving with a thought, audience with a thought there, that what if the phone was not listening that you're talking about chess? The phone was predicting that you would want to play chess in that particular time period. That this is what the big tech companies come up with, their arguments, that they have so much data that they can predict your randomness, and they make 100 guesses out of which they hit, let's say 3 or 5 on point. But when they predict your randomness, you notice that, right? So I think we would heavily underestimate what AI can do to us and how soon it can happen. We have seen capabilities of GPT-3 already, and I feel that it will 100% make a massive impact in our society in next 10 years. And just to give you context, some
all
of
right,
the
we've
largest...
completely run out of time. We just have a minute left.
I'll just finish that. Yeah.
So we want very quick Twitter-like comments. Your one prediction for the economy, Sukriti Gupta.
Optimistic recovery in 6 months.
Optimistic recovery in 6 months. Ekta.
I think we should be in a much better space by, say, next year, starting Feb, I would say, broadly.
Kamaljeet Singh.
I think overall economy, we will start seeing improvement by early next year, but it'll be a U-shaped recovery. I don't see a V-shaped recovery.
Okay, Ashwini Singla.
Anurag, I have a little bit of a contrarian view. We've seen economic slowdown much before the pandemic. So I think people are forgetting the fact that the economy was already slowing down as the pandemic hit us. Therefore, the recovery is also a very important aspect if we create the right enabling environment. I believe there's a task cut out for the government to review how it is. It's not about a SOP or a stimulus package that's going to get it out of the mess. I think there's a long-term structural thought process that needs to be put together within the government, and there are some thoughts around that. When we have some time, maybe we'll discuss it. But clearly, I believe there's a role of government to be played in creating the enabling environment for entrepreneurs like people on this panel to really leverage off the entrepreneurial fire that exists within this nation. But if there is a thing that holds us back, it is the enabling environment that creates the challenge in letting the entrepreneurs fire off. So I think there has got to be a review and a rethink about what the enabling environment has to look like if all that you're asking about in 2030 has to come true. Otherwise, Bhatakta Bharat, Latakta Bharat scenarios are quite possible in the scheme of things.
Okay. Snehal Choksi, your final word.
I see a V-shaped recovery. I think come 2021, I see a V-shaped recovery with all the government SOPs and the anti-Chinese wave and a good monsoon. I think we are going to see a V-shaped recovery.
Okay, Vineet, back to you.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Great talking to you, great ideas, and great suggestions being made. Thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Thank you, Vineet. Thank you,
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.